What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the most common mistakes that I see streamers make whenever they're setting up OBS Studio. These problems can actually cause a performance hit to both the stream and to the game. And these are going to be in no particular order in terms of like troubleshooting or anything like that. But I will have little timestamps down at the bottom for you to select. That way, if you have a feeling maybe that's what the issue is, you can just click right at it and then you can hear me ramble on about how to fix it. So let's go ahead and let's get right to it. One problem I see a lot is that there are people running media files like MOV or MPEG for videos or animations that are on their stream, when in most cases you want to be using WebM files that are about 30 FPS or lower, along with the same resolution that you're streaming at, and sometimes even lower than the resolution, maybe if you're just doing a logo or something like that. So for example, 720p for a logo if you're streaming 1080p, or just make sure that the layout that you've made, that's a WebM, is 1080p as long as you're streaming at 1080p. More or less, WebMs can be made more lightweight and they don't cause as much of a performance hit when you're streaming. What I'm about to do, you're noticing my CPU usage is like 5%. I'm going to enable this. It jumps to like 20. And that's just unusable. You don't want to be playing a highly CPU intensive game when this is happening. You're just going to cause stutters and a whole bunch of random junk, and the game's just not going to be fun. So you only want like maximum a 3 to 5% performance hit. So another thing that could be causing your game or your stream to have a performance hit is the process priority, and this can be changed for either OBS or it can be changed for the game itself. In OBS, if you click settings down at the bottom right, go to advanced, process priority. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, this is probably going to be left normal. This is just in some odd cases, because sometimes you have to leave that at normal, then maybe you need to change the game to higher or vice versa. For instance, I believe whenever I was doing Black Ops 4, I had to leave that at normal. I went to Task Manager, so right-click the taskbar. I would find the game. Let's suppose OBS Studio is Black Ops 4. Right-clicked this. Then I went to go to Details. And you've seen this right here. I'd right-click that, set priority. I set Black Ops to either above normal or high, and then that actually said, hey, this game needs a little bit more power from the CPU. OBS doesn't need as much as it's actually taking, so I was able to get better FPS on Black Ops 4 and still have a good-looking stream. Now, one thing to note is that when you do this process priority thing, at least in Task Manager, it's not automatically set most of the time. You may have to download some software to set it to automatically do it each time the computer starts, and we'll have a link down at the bottom for that software. So the next thing you could try is setting an FPS cap on your game. Some games are just extraordinarily GPU intensive, and when you're using something like maybe NVENC for the encoder and whatnot, it can actually cause stutters and just like frame drops in OBS Studio. Though it doesn't show it in the statistics of OBS Studio, it's just noticed more in-game. So Rainbow Six Siege was one that actually caused this issue for me. I had to turn down the graphics a little bit, and I also had to set a FPS cap. Really setting the FPS cap, I think, is what did most of it, because it's using up so much for the game, it's just not leaving enough for OBS Studio. Now, I can't show you how to do this because, I mean, you could be playing whatever game you want. Just know, most of the time, you either have to go into maybe a config text file to do this, or maybe it's just hopefully in a video game's settings. So maybe the things that I mentioned before weren't the issue, and you're having an issue with your frames dropping on your stream, and you're not sure why it's doing that. One mistake that I see quite frequently is that people don't know the bare bone basics to streaming. They'll try and stream off of Wi-Fi when in reality they need to be plugged in with an Ethernet cable into their router or a network switch, whatever they have there. And you want to make sure your internet's even fast enough to be able to do this. If you live out in the middle of nowhere and your internet just stinks, I'm sorry, there's probably not much you can do other than have a really low quality stream with either frame drops or your resolution is just going to be really, really low. Go to speed test on Google just click run speed test, and it's gonna go up. So I have, I think, 500 down and 500 up, something like that. This is good, fast internet. You could, for the love of God, definitely stream with this. So it looks like my internet provider at the moment's being stupid, and it's not giving me the full asynchronous internet that I pay for, but it's fine because 50 megabits is still more than enough. For instance, I used to stream with only 5 megabits up, and I was able to do 1080p 30 FPS and 720p 60 FPS. I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you're not partnered, you may as well just do 720p 60 FPS anyway, because the majority of people that are watching are probably on mobile, and you sort of just shoo them away whenever you're streaming at a higher resolution. Okay, so now the last thing I want you to check is to make sure your CPU or NVENC preset is okay. Go down to the bottom right, go to settings, and click output. That may say simple, just click that, then go to advanced. The encoder that I'm using is for my CPU. It's not NVENC, it's X264. For the CPU usage preset, the slower, the better the quality, but past, like, I think fast, you really can't tell that much of a difference in quality, and you start to take a really high performance hit. And 9 times out of 10, if you're just running OBS straight default, it's going to be set to very fast. And very fast isn't really that bad, but you have to make up for it being very fast with a higher bit rate. So in theory, the slower presets, you may be able to use a little bit of a lower bit rate to do that. Now, let's say you were using NVENC. NVENC's a little bit easier to understand. When it talks about preset, it's just like max quality, low latency. So obviously anything like quality related, you may take a little bit more of a performance hit, even though everyone says, oh my gosh, NVENC's so wonderful, I don't take a performance hit. You can still take a performance hit. You definitely can. So I would suggest trying to find the happy medium on that. Yeah, and I mean, that's pretty much it. There may be some more issues happening. Obviously, I can't go over everything, but I wanted to try and go over the most common ones that I had seen. If you're still having any kind of issues, please leave a comment down below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Don't forget to sub, and don't forget to join our Discord.